The Unix philosophy. It's simple at first, right? It's, oh yeah, everything is a file. But to be honest, I'm not really sure what are the intricacies of the, entire scope of the Unix philosophy. But in my opinion, the Unix philosophy, of course, with everything being a file, I believe it represents the idea of transparency, the idea of mastery, the idea of simplicity, the idea of you know what the fuck you're doing type of thing. You understand what's going on under the hood. And it's not that, oh, you're like a, control freak. It's more like you can trust that you're using a system that is reliable, that makes sense, and it's not like some mystery, right? Where you're just constantly wondering to yourself, what am I really using, right? And I think a really good illustration of this is people using Windows, right? This is not a shitting on Windows video, of course. Windows has its own purpose, and I'll shit on it another time. But as a consumer of Windows, right, you're using an operating system that hides a lot of junk for you. It's why it's so friendly, right? That's why it's so easy to use because all of it is hidden. But at the same time, because everything is hidden, you don't understand what the fuck you're using, right? I think a good example of this would be run as administrator, right? The ability for you to run as an administrator on Windows. I think for a lot of us who own like PCs or laptops, it's not like we're gonna share uh like laptops or PCs with other people. At least for me and for the people that I've met and for the people that I've talked to, I think it's kind of weird, right? For you to share devices, but I'm an American, okay? I'm not trying to trigger anybody. I'm an American. Uh, but that's how us Americans use our devices. It's just one person, one like device type of thing. But the reason why you have a administrator button, and the reason why you even have an admin, even though you're the only person using it, is because Windows is multi-user, right? It has the ability for you to create users and for every user to have their own like home directory and for every user to do whatever the fuck they want. So Windows and Mac OS and Linux and most modern operating systems of, of this modern century are multi-user. Anybody can use a system and have their own little corner of your hard drive. And, that's why you have an administrator to look over and just, make sure that everything's okay. You have like a true admin of an entire system because multiple people can use your system. But as a consumer, and, American consumer, because maybe third worlders or something, maybe they share accounts, I don't know. But, or share devices, I don't know. But as an American consumer, you don't really think about all these little things. You think, oh, I have to click run as administrator for something important. Okay, got it. Cool. You don't really understand why it's there, right? That's just like one of the simple examples of like the lack of transparency, right? Of course, the lack of transparency leads to friendliness. It leads to a nice GUI and everything. But for me, that's not what the Unix philosophy is about. The Unix philosophy is about showing that what you're doing, and that's them. That's the system right there, right? I think the most famous example would be a sudo. Sudo. I like calling it sudo, but it stands for super user do. Or if using like OpenBSD, for example, Goat distro, Goat OS, actually. um, do as, right? Boom. I call it DOS, though. Even though it's not DOS, whatever. Uh, it's just like a simple command. A simple command that just, boom, it tells you what it does, right? And it's just out there. Because, you're doing something as a super user, right? Plain and simple. Um, and what else? What's another example of transparency? Uh, when you're using a Unix-like system or using a Unix system, the command line is how everything was built, right? One of the reasons why I love using the command line is because that's how people used to use computers before we had a nice, beautiful desktop, before we had KDE, GNOME, XFCE, whatever, like, desktop environment Windows uses or whatever Mac uses. That's how people, use their systems. And before that, people didn't even have fucking screens. They had fucking, terminal like things, right? Now we use terminal emulators, but uh just the ability to just focus on, the terminal first is why I love Unix and Unix like so much. Like on Windows, of course, you have PowerShell and command prompt and just a regular terminal that loads whatever default shell you want. But it's like most people, they'll never touch the damn fucking uh you know either shell. They'll never touch any other Windows shell. Like they'll never touch. They will never touch a. They'll never touch a shell at all. But on Linux, for example, whether you like it or not, no matter how friendly and no matter how user friendly these like distros are trying to become, and so that way I try to convert all the Windows users or whatever. At some point, you're gonna have to touch the damn terminal, and that's what I like about it. I love the transparency. Most people, when they're switching over to a Unix like system, they're like, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. I just want my thing to damn work, and that's okay. That's fine. Uh, but I just find it hypocritical though, because what's the best operating system for people that don't care about being a master of their system? They just, want the damn thing to work. Windows. Windows has been doing it for fucking, I don't know, 40 years now. Look, I'm not a historian, okay? Like, it's just, the OS has been around for a long ass time. Uh, but, like, Unix isn't about that. Unix is like, if it means sacrificing comfort, if it means sacrificing bullshit just to use your damn system, but at the end of the day, you know what the system's doing, then we prioritize that first. That's how I see Unix. That's how I see the Unix philosophy, and why I think the Linux community has a really weird issue with always trying to be Windows. They're always trying to be Windows but free, right? That's like their whole mantra. It's always just shitting on Microsoft every other day. But then they don't even know how to work with their own system. I've always said this when talking about like Linux recommendation, for Windows or whatever. Linux is not a Windows clone. It is not a DOS clone, right? It is not a, like you might as well try to like, try to build on FreeDOS and try to make it more of a Windows clone, or React OS, which is literally a Windows clone, right? At least FreeDOS is a DOS like a fork, right? At least it's not DOS fork. It's a reimplementation of DOS. But like React OS is like is a re-implementation of Windows. It's like its own little thing that tries to mimic Windows exactly. But like people are always like, oh, switch to Linux. It's just like Windows but free. I'm like, that's wrong. It's wrong. Linux is supposed to be a Unix like. But I just hate how Linux has just become so unorthodox. Is that the right term for like orthodox means like traditional, right? I'm not sure, but it's becoming less Unix like over the years, and it's becoming more bloated. It's becoming more like opaque, right? You like System D, for example. I think is the greatest example. Like Journal CTL, I did not know this, but the if you use Journal CTL, the log files for Journal CTL are not log files. They're binaries that only Journal CTL can read them. I'm like, what? What the hell? I'm like, if you use like OpenBSD, for example, go to OS, by the way, or like even Slackware or something, Slackware Linux, the log files are right there. They're just right there. They're just plain text files. Like, that's cool. That's cool. For me, I'm like, whoa, my log files are literally right there. The error code is literally right there. That's so cool. But why the hell is Journal CTL this convenient like hassle free way to just read log files, but you're telling me that the actual source is unreadable and you have to use this system to fucking read it? Like, that's such bullshit. It's just the most bull crap ever. And obviously people are like, oh, I hate System D because of the age verification bullshit. I'm like, I hated System D way before that crap. Okay, I was one of the OG System D haters, but that's besides the point. My point is that uh, Linux. They just love shitting on Microsoft, but they want to be Microsoft people so bad. I go on 4chan, right? Absolute rage bait website, because I go to like the technology thread section or whatever, and you see people just like, oh, Windows is so much better than Linux. It's because Windows just makes sense and Linux doesn't make sense, and Windows everything works, and why do people want to make me want to switch to Linux? And then you got Linux users complaining about, oh, this doesn't work how it did it on Windows, but I don't want to switch back to Windows because Windows sucks, but Linux also sucks. Ah, I hate this shit. Oh my god. Why doesn't it work like Windows? And then you have the fucking schizo Linux users that are like, oh, the government's gonna kill me. But that's like an off-topic thing. But that's like an off-topic thing. But there is no uh there is no like identity to Linux, which it irritates me. It irritates me. But at least it's a Unix like. At least it's a Unix like. So it's a free pass. But going back to the main topic of Unix like, I just love Unix. I just love the core ideals and philosophy of it. Like like I mentioned, I don't have to know everything about a certain operating system to feel happy. That's just called being a schizophrenic. But I can trust that my system won't lie to me. It won't just hide shit from me. Not behind some weird binary that I can't fucking read unless I use their damn tool. Everything is in a file. Everything is readable. Everything is a fucking text. You can read anything you want, right? I think one of the most famous examples of the Unix philosophy at work is uh, if you go to the slash dev directory, right? It shows all your devices. So here's a good example. I have this big boy ThinkPad, right? Big boy ThinkPad. It has Slackware Linux on it, and I believe if I just like run a command against the directory slash dev cd0 or something, I think it's like Is it like mount or something? No, it's not mount. It's like eject cd0, like slash dev cd0. If I type that command out and I press enter, the CD drive pops out. It's like, whoa, you're telling me. It's like you're telling me that I can treat my CD drive as a file. I can mess around with everything like a file, and everything is just a transparent fucking thing. Like I just love that. I love it. I love it so much. And every day I learn about Linux and Unix and Mac OS and BSD and I love every I love it. I love it. I love it. It's such a beautiful design. It's such a beautiful design for sure. Um I like DOS too. Like I've tried FreeDOS, right? FreeDOS is good. I tried React OS and um I need to retry React OS again because I ran it under QEMU, but it was a software like emulator. I didn't run it under a hypervisor, so that's on me. That's on me. But React OS, for what it's worth, I also really enjoy too. But there's just something beautiful about no term or like no not terminal, no GUI, no desktop, just lines of text and just executing little commands just to do it. Oh, I love it so much. I love it so much. But yeah, that's all I want to talk about because I love Unix. What can I say? That's about it. See ya. You see where I got that from? Voice critical. Oh my god. Holy shit.